You are listening to Huda recordings.
This madhab, this sect became so popular because so many people want to follow their desires. It actually became exactly like Christianity. You believe Jesus was sent down to the earth and died for our sin, that's it. You do whatever you do, you end up in Jannah. It became like that. You know that God exists, that's it. You enter Jannah, no doubt. The fourth issue I will mention today and end with it. His belief, or this sect's belief, in the Day of Judgment. They also have a different belief or view to the Day of Judgment other than us. First, Al-Jahmiyyah, they said there is no such thing called As-Sirat in the Day of Judgment. As-Sirat, he said, it's not exist. And they deny this totally. They said there is no Quran, any verse said there is Sirat. What's the benefit from Sirat? And they start to argue about this. But that's totally lie, because Allah Azza wa Jal said in the Quran, وَإِن مِّنكُمْ إِلَّا وَارِدُهَا. Everyone will pass over it. كَانَ عَلَى رَبِّكَ حَتْمًا مَقْضِيًّا. How the person will pass over Jahannam? Above the Sirat. And Allah Azza wa Jal said, فَلَقْتَحَمَ الْعَقَبَةِ. So many scholars said, Al-Aqabah in this verse is As-Sirat. How he will pass Al-Aqabah. How you will pass As-Sirat. One of the things will make you pass As-Sirat, فَكُّ رَقَبَةِ, to free a slave. أو إطعام, or to give people food while they are hungry. طيب. Also, As-Sunnah, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, the Sirat will be above Jahannam and people will pass it. I'm the first one who will pass the Sirat in the Day of Judgment. And all the prophets, they would say, Allahumma sallim sallim, oh Allah, protect us while they are passing it. And we all know the details of the Sirat. Also, the Jahmiyyah denied there is something called scale in the Day of Judgment. And Allah will not have a scale, there is no weight. Allah will not weigh anything in the Day of Judgment. They deny this totally. And they said, scale is for the person who sells grocery. It's not for God. Because God knows what you did and what you didn't do. He doesn't need a skill to weight things. Okay? And they said, we deny this. But also they said, how can your deeds be weighted? The deeds has no shape. Yani salat, there is nothing kida called salat outside. How many pounds salat is weighed? They start laughing and making joke and fun of Ahl Sunnah. They said, no, there's nothing called weight. But Al-Quran and Sunnah told us there is a skill. And Allah will weight the deeds. وَنَضَعُ الْمَوَازِينَ الْقِسْطَ لِيَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. Allah said, in the Day of Judgment, the scales will be there. لا ولا تظلم نفس شيئا وإن كان مثقال حبة من خردل أتينا بها وكفى بنا حاسبين. فمن ثقلت موازينه, or his side of the scale was heavy, the good deeds was heavier than the bad deeds, he go to Jannah. Whoever his bad deeds heavier than the good deeds, he go to hellfire. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said two words. Allah loved them the most, and they are so heavy in the scale of the person in the Day of Judgment. كلمتان حبيبتان إلى الرحمن ثقيلتان في الميزان سبحان الله بحمده سبحان الله العظيم. Al-Bukhari and Muslim. We all know this hadith, the man who will come at the Day of Judgment and he will see his bad deeds record so much and very heavy, and his good deeds in the other side very light. Then La ilaha illallah will come, and it will be put in his good deeds. It will be heavier than the rest of it, be heavier than all the bad deeds. حتى تطيش لا إله إلا الله بهذه الذنوب الكثيرة. So that shows you two sides in the scale, and one for the good, one for the bad. As for saying that the deeds has no shape to be weighted, that's totally wrong. Why? Because the good deeds will be written in records. What we will be putting in the scale, the record. That's why the bitaqa, La ilaha illallah doesn't come, it comes La ilaha illallah in a card, in a record. These records that you did, every good deed's written in a record. So these records above each other. And then the collect of the records from good or bad, that will be weighted in the Day of Judgment. That's one. Two, Nabi Sallallahu said that certain deeds, Allah will turn it from something not material to be materialistic, to have a shape and weight in the scale on the Day of Judgment. This is something like exactly the Surah of Ali Imran and Al-Baqarah in the Day of Judgment comes in a shape of clouds and two big falcons, two big birds. Allah give the shape of that verse. Allah will bring the death in the Day of Judgment in a shape of sheep. So Allah do whatever He wants. And the Day of Judgment different than these days. The skill of that day different than this skill. It's totally different word. You can put your mind or your logic to judge the Day of Judgment based on what you have here in this dunya. And also Allah will put in the scale human beings. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, the feet of Ibn Mas'ud or the legs of Mas'ud in the scale on the Day of Judgment heavier than Jabal Uhud, the mountain of Uhud, because he has very tiny legs. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, there is people will come in the Day of Judgment. They are big, fat, huge, but their weight in the scale on the Day of Judgment will not be even equal to a wing of a mosquito, a mosquito's wing. لا يزن الرجل الطرير السمين العظيم عند الله يوم القيامة جناح بعوضة. Allah said, فلا نقيم لهم يوم القيامة وزنا. They will weight nothing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's scale in the Day of Judgment. So the things will be weighted in the scale are different. The records, some of the deeds, the people themselves. As for saying the person needs the skill as the person who sells grocery because he knows how weight it is, Allah knows everything, that's out of your ignorance. Al-Jahmiyyah ibn Safwan. Why? Because there is great wisdom from having the skills Yawm al-Qiyamah. What this wisdom is? One, show you how much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge is. That you will see every single details. So you know how much knowledge He has. And how much subhanahu wa ta'ala remember and recorded every single thing. Even your breath. Allah said, in the Day of Judgment, قال وَلَقَدْ أَحْصَاهُمْ وَعَدَّهُمْ عَدًّا. He counted them, one. Al-Hasan said, every single breath, not second, not minute. Also, this will show how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so merciful and so generous. You will see with your own eyes, one deed you did it. But if there is weight, you will see that this deed multiplies 700. It's one, but you see it's 700. It's one, but you see the reward, which is the consequences of this deed. All this will be gathered and will put. You will see how much Allah is merciful and generous. This is the time where you will witness the consequences of your good deeds. You might say, okay, I got one deed by donating to the masjid. But that dollar maybe you donated when used to make a tape. And that tape goes to somebody who became Muslim. That Muslim started praying. You will see in your record the ajr of his salat, his Quran, his da'wah, goes all the. If there is no waiting, if Allah will not weight these things in the scale, you wouldn't see it, you will not recognize that. You will not realize the greatness of Allah. Allah shows us His greatness and His mercy through this thing by weighting the good deeds. But those people are ignorant. They don't know the wisdom behind these actions. Also, it shows you His mercy, because one sin is there by itself, wasn't multiplied. And you see the sin, which is Allah Azza wa Jalla will make it very light against the good deeds. And also, it shows you the justice of God. Because if God said, you go to hell, you go to Jannah, without waiting, without showing you. Maybe somebody said, why? No why, khalas. Everybody sees. You cannot say why. فيها إقامة الحجة. That you have no excuse. And shows you how much just He is, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also related to the Day of Judgment, He said that the hellfire and the paradise will end, will not stay forever. قال بفناء الجنة والنار والجهم أفناها وأفنى أهلها تبا لذاك الجاهل الفتاني. That Al-Jahm Safwan said, one day Allah will destroy the heaven, the paradise, and whoever in it, and the hellfire and whoever in it. One day they were all gone. There will not be more any Jannah, any Nar, no kuffar, no believer, nothing. Everything will go to zero. They will not be exist. Say, why ya akhi? Why you are like saying that? He said, because Allah is the only one, He stay forever. But if you said paradise and hellfire will stay forever, they will be similar to Allah. And that's totally not accepted. Because paradise and hellfire, they were not exist one day. But God was always exist. And that's what to make the difference between their existence and God's existence. And for God's sake, Al-Jahmiyyah, they don't believe actually that He exists or not exists. So why are you bothering yourself? And that's one of the refutation we said to them. And Al-Quran said in so many verses that they will stay forever in paradise and hellfire. And in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said the Day of Judgment, death will be terminated, so people will remain forever in Jannah or for hellfire after the believer go to the Jannah and the disbeliever will remain in the hellfire. He also said that Jannah and hellfire are not exist today. They will be exist in the Day of Judgment. They said because if they are exist today, there is no point for having them. From having them now. Said God, what the point from having them now? First of all, we tell him you don't believe in God's wisdom. Or He does for reasons. Why now you're bringing the reasons? One. Two, we said there is a great wisdom for having them exist now. What that wisdom is? That to show you the greatness of the Jannah and the greatness of the hellfire. How is that? Brothers and sisters, imagine since Allah created the human being and the jinn, the Jannah, the hellfire and the paradise will exist. And Allah preparing them for you since that day. If I tell you, come on, I want to clean my house, I want to prepare, there is guest coming. You tell me, when he's coming? I said, this guest coming next week or next month. Come on, you still have so much time. I said, no. You would say, he must be very important guest for you. That you start preparing for him so early. That shows the greatness of your guest. وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى. Allah has the great examples. If He putting the Jannah ready from that time until today to show how you, the believer, are great in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's eyes. And how great place is Jannah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it ready for them, making it ready for Him from that day. And also the same for the hellfire, that it is a great punishment for them. We also see in Jannah, we see in the ahadith in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and in the Quran very clear, Allah said, أُعِدَّتْ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. And Jannah was prepared in the past tense. So it exists. And Allah said the same thing, أُعِدَّتْ لِلْكَافِرِينَ. Was prepared, was made already. Allah said that in the Quran, so it's very clear. Also in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he went Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj, when he went to the heavens, when he met Allah, he saw Al-Jannah and he saw the hellfire. It was there, exist. In Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Sahih Muslim, he said, I saw one of Al-Jannah's, the paradise grape. I was going to take one. He said, Wallahi, if I took it with me to you, it will remain in the earth until the Day of Judgment. People seeing it and eating from it. من عناقيد العنب في الجنة. والحديث صحيح Muslim. Also in Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam saw Al-Jannah and the hellfire when he was leading the prayer of Al-Kusuf, as reported in Bukhari or Muslim. He saw them with their own eyes. Allah gave them the power to see them. And in Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam saw them in his dream, and we all know that the dream of the prophets are truth. حق رؤيا الأنبياء حق. Also in Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said in the authentic hadith, when the person will be replaced in his grave. There is a gate will be opened from his grave to his place in Jannah or in the hellfire. He will see it, and if it is Jannah, he will smell the fragrance of Jannah. So if it does not exist, what that gate lead to? And if it is the hellfire, a'udhu billah, may Allah protect us all from it, he will suffer from the heat of the hellfire in his grave. So all this evidence very clear that Jannah and Nar exist today. They exist, and this is what the scholar said. Based on what you heard, you will know why that the Muslim scholar said that Al-Jahmiyyah are not Muslims. This sect is not an Islamic sect. That's why when they said, the Prophet said, this ummah will be divided to 73, they said Al-Jahmiyyah not one of them. Because those 73 are Muslim but deviant. Those, they don't deserve to be called actually from the ummah, from the Muslims at all. That's Ibn al-Mubarak and other great imams said that. They are kuffar. We don't consider them a Muslim, first of all. That's why Al-Lalaka'i have mentioned in his book, Sharh Usul I'tiqad Ahl-Sunnah wal-Jama'ah, 500 great scholars said Al-Jahmiyyah kuffar. And Ibn al-Qayyim has a great book, it's called اجتماع الجيوش الإسلامية على غزو المعطلة الجهمية. He mentioned also all the names of the scholars who said that they are kuffar, such as Salam ibn Abi Mutih, Hamad ibn Zayd, Yazid ibn Harun, Ibn al-Mubarak, Waki' ibn al-Jarrah, Hamad ibn Abi Sulaiman, Al-Imam Malik, and others scholars as well. This sect, with these ideas, you will see when you study the history of the other sects, they either adopt some of their ideologies then develop it, or affected with their way of thinking, or they had reactions. Yani they saw them going to this direction, they took the totally opposite direction, which is again the other side of the street and other extreme away from the middle way of Ahl Sunnah. May Allah to protect us all. Wa inshallah we'll stop here. Sallallahu wasallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad.
You are listening to Huda recordings.
Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah wa ba'd. نظرا لأننا قد توسعنا في المحاضرة الأولى فلعلنا نختصر إن شاء الله فيما يأتي من الكلام على الفرق التي وعدنا بالحديث عنها في هذه المجالس. Since we went a little bit in details about Al-Jahmiyyah, and we remind the brothers and the sisters about the history of some introductions related to the history of the sects in Islam. Inshallah, we might make it a little bit shorter, whatever left from these sects we were supposed to cover, inshallah, today. The second sect, which is a reflection of Al-Jahmiyyah, and since I see so many faces new here, I would say very quickly that the first session we talked about Al-Jahmiyyah, and we said that Al-Jahmiyyah is a sect who appear in the 2nd century of Islam, and around 200, as an ideologies, and the person who established, or the real founder of this madhab or this ideologies, his name was Al-Jahm ibn Safwan al-Tirmidhi Abu Mihriz. He died, or he was executed in 132 Hijri. This man who took his ideas from a man, his name Al-Ja'd ibn Dirham, who learned under Aban ibn Sam'an, who learned from Talut, and Talut learned from his uncle Lubayd ibn al-A'sam al-Yahudi, the Jew man who performed magic on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We said that Al-Jahm ibn Safwan came with something was very new in that time. That issue was denying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names and attributes. and claiming that whenever you say Allah has this name or has this attribute, you will compare Allah to His creation and you will make Him similar to His creation. That's why He said we have to deny His names and attributes. This way of thinking or dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names and attributes was not exist before. He came to tell people Allah is not above His creation. Allah not on His throne. He denied that. He denied that Allah talks, and there is no such thing called Allah's words. And also, He came with other ideas related to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names and attributes that are all go to one direction, to say Allah doesn't have names, doesn't have attributes. Why? Because He doesn't want Allah to be similar to His creation. And He made Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the most impossible things to be exist or to think about. This man also developed the idea or spread the idea of Al-Jabr, which is the people has no will, that everything you do, it's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala force you to do. And you don't choose anything, but Allah force you to do whatever you are doing. And the real doer is not you, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why you will be punished in the hellfire for something you have no choice over it. And he said that's possible, that's okay for him. And he said the belief is just to know that Allah exists. Knowing that Allah is there, it's enough to make you complete believer. And also he said that in the Day of Judgment, he doesn't believe that the hellfire and the paradise are now exist. He said they will be exist in the Day of Judgment, and one day they will vanish, they will disappear, and the believer and the disbeliever will finish. They will not be exist anymore. طيب. Also, we said that he talked about issues which is going to happen at the Day of Judgment. He denied, such as As-Sirat, the path above Jahannam, and also he denied the existence of the scale, Al-Mizan, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will weigh any deeds in the Day of Judgment. He said all this is not true. We mentioned that over 500 Muslim scholars, they said that this sect is not Muslim sects, they are kuffar, and all these beliefs are a belief which is contradict the basic meanings of being Muslim or a believer. Also, in the 2nd century of Islam, another sect start coming up between 105 Hijrah and 110. There is a sign of a new group coming with some new ideas and developing some ideas. You remember, if you attend to the first group of lectures I gave about the sects, I mentioned very important fact that sects, it doesn't have a date. You say it was born in that day. Ideas or sects, it doesn't start like that. Start like an idea, then develop. Then a person came and contribute to it. Then after a while, it take a shape of a sect of people who write books, who make it system for it, who make rules and regulations. So it developed through any ideas. This is the way it developed. For example, fiqh in Islam. Hanafi, Shafi'i, Maliki, Hanbali. When you read during Imam Ahmad time, during Shafi'i time, there are students, there's no such things called madhab, it's called Hanafi. How this take this shape of regulations and rules and the foundations and people through centuries. It takes time to develop this and to become the way it is now. Even the fiqh as a knowledge, the mustalah al-hadith, usul al-fiqh, start like a statement here, a statement there, somebody contribute this, then somebody come later, he collected these together, put them together, then somebody come after, make tanqih, he will go over it, he will review it, he will maybe criticize issue in it, he will develop it to become an idea, as a sect, ideologies. Even countries, if you study, for example, the history of the United States, how it start like a 13 state come together, then this idea developed, then after that constitution started and developed, then became the shape you see it now. So this is the nature of the human being. Any civilization, this is the way it is. And this is also the sect. In this period of time, 105, 110, another ideas start coming up. And in that time, in that period of time, there is a lot of fitan happened to the Muslim world. There were a lot of ideologies and new idea invading the Muslims. Through those who became new Muslims, who carrying with them their old ideologies, their methods of thinking from different religions, and through those happening because the Muslim civilization start to expose to another civilization. And that's the nature of any civilizations. When they meet each other, they affect each other. Islam built a system that we should get benefit from the other civilizations when it comes to other area than the religion, other area than what Allah said, and that's a done deal. We don't need anybody to change this message or change this rule. But we always need other civilization to develop ourselves in science and social and so many different ways and areas. We develop ourselves through this mixing with other civilizations. And that's what happened through the century. But it doesn't always stop there. There is effect in the belief in the religion. And just to give you, to make it more wider, like the Christian civilization was affected so much with the Roman civilization, which is a civilization based on worship, stars and idols. When they became Christians, they add so much of their old belief to Christianity. And they were able to change so much things in Christianity to go with their old belief. And Hinduism, the Buddhist, has so much effect also in their ideologies, their belief in Christianity. The philosopher, the Greek philosophers, has so much effect on the Christianity. When you study how the Christians, when they exposed to these civilizations, they developed things in this religion, they changed things, it was affected. And as I start my speech today with, we are exposing to what they exposed to. Whatever happened to them is happening to us. With one main important difference, that in this ummah, Allah out of His mercy, because this the ummah will last to the end of the days, the truth will remain. The falsehood will exist, but the truth will remain. And the vast majority of Muslim will be able to recognize the truth by itself. Yani, you don't need to study 4 years in Sharia to understand that what I just told about Jahmiyyah is a corrupted belief. You can just find this yourself, even if this is your first time to expose to studying Islam. That's something, alhamdulillah, Allah gave it to this ummah. He didn't give it to any other ummah, any other nation. And based on this, I will say in the ummah in that time was exposed to many different civilizations and ideas. And the Muslims were hurt so much, but why? Yani after the problem which has happened in the end of Ali radiallahu anhu's time, and the fight happened between him and the Khawarij and the Muawiyah radiallahu anh, and some political issue developed through the ummah. This also developed kind of environment for people to start mixing between politics or their political agendas with the religion. So they will use the religion to attack one side or one group politically through the religion, even by starting a belief to prove that such group was wrong, such group was right, and so on. In that time, there is a great Imam, his name Al-Hasan Al-Basri. Everybody knows Hasan Al-Basri, a great Imam. He was sitting in a circle with his students. A man came and he said to him, Ya Imam, what do we believe in a person who committed major sins. A person committed major sins. In another narration, he asked him about the fight which has happened between the Sahaba. And this is fight. Killing each other is a sin. How come they are Sahaba and Muslims and Jannah and they committed sin? If a person committed a sin, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what will happen to him if he committed a major sin? Before you know, a man jumped, one of his students, he jumped and he answered the question. شوف يعني قلة الأدب. The question was given to the Sheikh. One of the students jumped and answered a question like that by saying, they are not Muslims, but they are not kuffar. They are in the middle. They are in a middle station. They don't deserve to be Muslim because they committed major sins. They don't deserve to be called kafir because they committed a major sins. They are something new, something different. Then Hasan al-Basri refuted what he said. And he said, they are Muslims, but they are sinners. They are sinners. He's still Muslim, but they are fasiqun bima'siyatih. He committed sin, but he's still Muslim. And that man, next day, he came and he started his own halqa, his own teaching. Then Al-Hasan al-Basri said, اعتزلنا واصل. That man was Wasil ibn Ata. His name what? Wasil ibn Ata. He is the founder of Al-Mu'tazila. He is the founder of Al-Mu'tazila. He died 131 Hijri. He died 131 Hijri. He was from Al-Basra. He was again a very good speaker. They said he had a problem in pronouncing the word Ra. Ra. He pronounced Ra like Ard. Instead of Ard, he would say Ard. You know how people have this latra in their pronunciation. And this is something will never make you a eloquent speaker. That's right. They said he will give the speech hours. He will not use a single word, has Ra, so nobody can find out this effect on him. Yani, al-ard, he wouldn't say al-ard, he would say al-batha. He would bring another word. Imagine, they don't, by the way, give a speech from paper, from memory. He make poets. He doesn't use Ra at all. That shows you how good he was in Arabic language. He was so good in Arabic language. He would never pronounce his this word in his speech, so nobody can take anything against him. Anyway, this man, he came up with this idea. Then he separated himself from Al-Hasan al-Basri and showed his animosity to Al-Hasan. And instead of being one of his loyal students, he turned against Al-Hasan and he started his halqa. He found a person who supported him so much in that time, and that was another problem. That person was not well known as a good speaker, was well known as a worshipper. His name is Amr ibn Ubayd. Amr ibn Ubayd. He's a person who avoided the rulers, avoided the businessmen, the rich people. He lived very simple life to the extent that they said about him, كل يمشي رويد كل يرقب صيد إلا عمرو بن عبيد. Everybody walks slowly to Jannah except Amr ibn Ubayd. He running fast. Everybody expecting something from the Khalifa, from the Emir, from the princes, from the government. Except Amr ibn Ubayd doesn't care about their money or about their gifts. People and that's another problem. The people look at these things, but they are not careful. What might these things have what that person have in the other hand to give? that Amr ibn Ubayd, who passed 141 Hijri, was one of the most guided people in his time in the matter of belief. Once he said, when he heard hadith al-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that al-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah Azza wa Jal will send an angel to the mother when she is pregnant with her baby. After 120 days, he will send an angel to breathe into that body the soul, breath into that body the soul which is in her womb, the baby. He will give him the soul, and he will write, he is Sa'id am Shaqi, Shaqiyun am Sa'id. He is among the people of hellfire or among the people of Jannah. It will be written. He said, if Ibn Mas'ud, then the Sahabi, told me that, I will say you're a liar. He said, not anybody else. If himself tell me that he heard that from the Prophet, I will say you're a liar. And if Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam come today to me and tell me this hadith directly, I will reject it. And if Allah talk to me directly and tell me that, I would say, oh Allah, this is not fair. قال لرددته وقلت ما على هذا أخذت عهدنا. See how much he is, in the other hand, far away from being righteous. La ilaha illallah. Anyway, that man was the biggest support to Wasil ibn Ata, and both they start spreading some ideas which is in the end developed the madhab of Al-Mu'tazila. Another person who had a great role in establishing this madhab, his name is Bishr ibn Ghayath al-Mirrisi. This guy wrote a book. Up to today, every deviant sect, every person who want to deny Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attributes or names, he used this man's books and this man's doubts. Up to today, up to these recent days. And another man, well known, his name Ahmad ibn Abi Du'ad. This is the chief judge of Muslims in the time of Al-Ma'mun and Al-Mu'tasim, the Abbasi Khalifa. He was the chief judge. He is the one who convinced the Khalifa Al-Ma'mun and Al-Mu'tasim to accept the ideologies of Al-Mu'tazila. And he was able, through his position, to force people to teach this belief in the Muslim schools. And any scholars go against what they believe, he will be thrown in jail, he will be executed, he will be forced not to talk in the masjids. Like what they did to Imam Ahmad. For example, Imam Ahmad, 3 years he's not allowed to attend to Jumu'ah prayer. 3 years he was sitting in his house, the Jumu'ah prayer out there, and he cannot walk to the masjid. He prays alone, home. He's not allowed to teach, he's not allowed to have class, he's not allowed. Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah. And so many scholars were killed or were forced to accept the Mu'tazili belief when it comes to Khalq al-Quran, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't talk, and he didn't talk, and this Quran is not his words, it's one of his creation. We might talk about this a little bit in future. طيب. Anyway, the second main founder for this madhab, the person who made it like a madhab, who made foundations and wrote books, and if you want to recognize a person who contribute a lot to this madhab, this sect, will be Al-Qadi. He's again a judge. His name Abdul Jabbar Al-Hamadani. Abdul Jabbar Al-Hamadani. He has the most famous book which represented the Mu'tazila's belief. It's called Al-Mughni fi Abwab al-Tawheed wal-Adl. It is over 20 volumes. Very huge book. It's written and it exists today. He has also the explanation of the 5 pillars of Al-Mu'tazila. Very, very famous book. This sect, subhanallah, melted. And I mean by melted, by centuries. Allah punished those people after they were in charge because so much injustice done by them. Killing innocent scholars, killing innocent people, forcing people, corrupting people. Their belief vanished. And their belief, subhanallah, all the Mu'tazila's ideas went to the Shia and the Zaydis, which exist in Yemen today. And the Shia, which exists today in Iran and east side of Saudi Arabia, in Pakistan, and the Shia is what you know. The Imamiyah, which exists today in the Muslim world. Every single thing, almost, in their belief, all gone to those people. And you will see now how has that happened. So now these days, there is no people saying Mu'tazila, but all their ideas exist in the Shia's belief, in the Zaydis' belief, and in the Ash'ari's belief. You will see. Subhanallah, just recently, some people, we call them thinkers, mufakkirin, they start reviving Al-Mu'tazila as a group, as a sect again. And what they did, they dig in the Muslims' library and they found the book of Abdul Qadir Al-Jabbar Al-Hamadani and reprinted these books and publish it and make it common. And the most famous person who is very excited to renew or revival Al-Mu'tazila as a group by this name, separating them from the Shia's group, the Zaydi groups, and bring them to the way they start, a very famous author, an Islamic thinker they call him. You will hear his name a lot. His name, Muhammad Imara. Muhammad Imara, an Egyptian thinker who has a lot of efforts in fighting secularism. He debates secular in Egypt, very well known, has articles in all over Muslims, major newspapers, and very, very well known person. But he had these ideas and he's very interested in reviving, and he published the Sharh al-Usul al-Khamsa al-Qadi Abdul Jabbar, and he has so many articles to support the Mu'tazili's belief. One of their famous authors or scholars who has a book which exists today in our hand, his name Abu Su'ud. Abu Su'ud, he has tafsir. Abu Su'ud, he is a pure Mu'tazili, and also in the knowledge of Usul al-Fiqh. Usul al-Fiqh. So many of the scholars, or so many of those who are involved in Usul al-Fiqh are Mu'tazili. And one of the famous people, a guy or a person, his name Al-Ka'bi. Al-Ka'bi, he has a lot of opinions related to usul, comes from his belief in Aqidah. Anyway, Al-Mu'tazila, whenever it started as a group, they were afraid to announce their belief and their ideologies because of Al-Hasan Al-Basri. The history recorded for us that 110 after Al-Hasan Al-Basri passed away, 110 they start openly and clearly calling people for this new idea because this great scholar passed away in Al-Basra, so they took that chance of telling people about their belief. It became more strong, as I said, when a lot of books from the Greeks philosophers' books been translated to Arabic, and the Romans philosophers, their books been translated to Arabic, their ideas, their ideologies became stronger and stronger, and they developed their ideas more and more. This is especially happened when Al-Ma'mun start what we call Darul Hikmah, the house of wisdom. And this house of wisdom only brought evil to Muslim world. They said the only thing At-Tatar did good when they entered Baghdad, the only good thing they did when they enter Baghdad, you know, Tatar, the Mongolian, when they enter Baghdad, they destroyed all these books, the philosophers' books. This is the only thing they did good in their life, but they destroyed a lot of good books with it anyway. And they destroyed Dar al-Hikmah completely. The Dar of Wisdom, they call the Dar of Wisdom. Anyway, in that time, Ahmad ibn Abi Du'ad, through his position, as I told you, he influenced so many people and asked them to accept his ideas. So many scholars were abused, like Imam Ahmad rahimahullah. He was beaten so bad during Al-Mu'tasim. 3 khulafa, all of them, they abused Imam Ahmad, starting from Al-Ma'mun, Al-Mu'tasim, then the one after him. He was beaten so bad in front of people. He was forced to stay home. He wasn't allowed to give public speeches. And not only him, even a scholar like Al-Imam Yusuf ibn Yahya al-Buwaiti. He was a student of Al-Imam al-Shafi'i. He used to live in Egypt. This Imam was abused so much also because he refuted the Mu'tazila's ideas, and he was taken from Egypt. And since they took him from Egypt, he was with the soldier, he's not gonna run away. What they did, they put the chains in his hand and they tied his hand to his neck. Then they put also chains in his feet, and between his feet وضعوا لبنة, a brick. The weight of it around 40 pounds. 40 pounds. 40 رطل. Very heavy. He walked all the way from Egypt to Baghdad in this way. To humiliate him and to punish him. This is a great Imam, great Shafi'i Imam rahimahullah ta'ala. And when he arrived closer to Baghdad, they asked him, what you are going to tell the Khalifa? If he did all this to you before he sees you, what you are going to say? He said, Wallahi la asduqannah. Wallahi, I will tell him the truth. He said, in Egypt, there is more than 100,000 students listen to me and waiting for me to say what I believe in Al-Quran. I will never mislead them. SubhanAllah, shif Al-Quwwah, his strength. And he was taken to the Khalifa, and he said, I would rather die in my handcuffs and in this iron, while I'm wearing these bracelets from irons, which is the chain that they tied his hand and legs with it. And he said, so the people will come after us, they will know that there is people die while they have their handcuffs on for the sake of this religion. So they will appreciate what we have saved for them. So they will appreciate what we have done for them, and they will not take this religion as something cheap, that they will know there is something valuable. People even die for it, so they will honor it. قال لأموتن في قيدي حتى إذا أتى أقوام يعلمون أنه قد مات في هذا الشأن قوم في حديدهم. قوم في حديدهم. One of the most recognized sign of this sect, one, that أول معلم من معالم هذه الفرقة طغيان النزعة العقلية وإطلاق سلطان العقل وجعل حكما على نصوص الكتاب والسنة. This group, first, they made their own mind judge over Al-Quran was-Sunnah. Whatever they accept from Al-Quran, they will take. Whatever they don't accept, they will reject. And again, they say their own mind. And they claim that their own mind, common sense, which is not common sense. It's their common sense. It's their logics, not the logic. طيب. That's why, and their logic came from where? Came from their logic is basically the disposal of the logic of the Greek and the Romans philosophers. They became like the disposer of those philosophers. They got whatever they threw to them. جعلوا عقولهم محط زبالات أذهان اليونان والرومان. They made certain rules. They invented these rules, and they start judge the Quran and Sunnah based on their rules. The one they did. They didn't make the rules based on the Quran and Sunnah. No, they made the rules, then they start judge the Quran and Sunnah based on these rules. That's why they said, the good at what is our mind say it's good, not what the Sharia said it is good. The bad, what is our mind said it is bad, not what the Sharia said it is bad. The second sign, their knowledge based on philosophy, not based on Quran and Sunnah. Those people, their main source, their teachers, their role models, the philosophers. The people who doesn't say قال الله قال رسول الله. The people who makes introductions and logic introductions, and they talk in a way which is what we call them today thinkers or philosophers. To the extent, brothers and sisters, for some times the aqidah they used to call it, and in their book Up to Date, when they talk about Tawheed and Aqidah, what they call the knowledge of Aqidah and Tawheed. Do you know what they call it? Ilmul Kalam. The knowledge of Kalam. What's Kalam means? Talk. It just talk. Theory. It became so complicated. Became just a bunch of philosophers. They talking. That belief which is supposed to Aqidah, which is supposed to make your heart soft and a touch, became so dry. You open their book in Aqidah, open like any one of their books in Aqidah, you wouldn't say قال الله قال رسول الله. It's all talk. Very dry. طيب. The third sign of this group, that they were so bad to the Prophet companions and to the successors and to the Muslim scholars. They used the worst language against the Muslim scholar, against the Sahaba. First of all, they said Ali and his group and Muawiyah and his group are not Muslim, not Kafir, they are in the middle. They are Fusaq. And they abused Uthman, and they accused Uthman with every bad things. They attack Uthman so bad. And they attack so many Sahaba. They said only Abu Bakr and Umar and few other Sahaba who passed and before the fitna of Uthman, they are the good and the rest are bad. And so many bad things they said, I wouldn't go in detail. And also they attack the scholars and the tabi'een. For example, Wasil ibn Ata used to say, why people go to Al-Hasan al-Basri? وَمَا عِنْدَ الْحَسَنِ الْبَصْرِ? What Al-Hasan al-Basri has? He only good in ما في سروال امرأته. He's only good in the issue of what in his wife's pants or underwears, which it means her pads. Her menstrues, her period. That the blood, he knows, people go to say, oh, she has her period or she finished, what the rules. He good in this area. See, he sounds very bad. Today they said, oh, Mashayikh al-Hayd wa nifas. Said, oh, these sheikhs of al-Hayd and nifas, they are good in this only. This is some of what they taught or learned from al-Mu'tazilah. And the Mu'tazilah used to say, we are the people who have logic, who make sense, we know the technology. Those are old-fashioned tabi'een, and those, they are nothing, they don't know anything, they are ignorant, they don't make sense, they are not smart. Just repeating what they memorize. So they were always try to separate themselves from the Salaf al-Ummah, rahimahumullah. The fourth sign, that they were against Sunnah so much. They refused to accept the concept that Sunnah must be obeyed. That you believe in what the Sunnah came with. They rejected the Ahadith, especially Al-Ahad, the a hadith which is not mutawatir. One of their sign, which is the fifth sign, they always try to play with words and terminologies. They use good words to represent bad meanings, their falsehood. And they give their falsehood names which is from Quran and Sunnah, good names. Like for example, they said At-Tawheed, Al-Adl, justice, Tawheed, Amr bil-Ma'ruf and Nahy al-Munkar. But under these names, very corrupted meanings, totally against what the Muslim believes. So people will hear, what's wrong, ya akhi? They only call people for justice, for Amr bil-Ma'ruf and Munkar. So people will be confused. And they were very good in this. They were very good in this. On the other hand, they use very bad words to describe the good and the people of the truth. They give bad names to the people of Sunnah, to the followers of the Sunnah. They give them bad names. And in that time, especially those people who are the ones who start criticizing and yalmizun, يعني, they would say bad words about Ahl Sunnah and the scholars. The last sign of Al-Mu'tazila, that they always were interested in refuting the atheists and debating the atheists and writing books to refute the philosophers who they learned from their religion first of all. Then now they come to refute their main belief, but in fact they were so affected and attached to the philosophers' way of thinking, and they were like them. Shaykh al-Islam said, "La al-Islam nasaru wa la al-falasifata kasaru." In the end, they did not brought victory to Islam. They will not be able to refute the philosophers. يعني محلك راوح. After all of this, they just couldn't accomplish anything. Al-Mu'tazila said that they believe in 5 pillars. Their religion, their belief based on 5 pillars. First one, At-Tawheed. What At-Tawheed means in Al-Mu'tazila sense? 1, they said At-Tawheed, under this name, they discuss the issue of Allah's names and attributes. They said the Jahmiyyah before us said Allah doesn't have names, doesn't have attributes. We see on the other hand the people who follow Sunnah saying Allah has names and attributes. That's how it's going. Those people came in the middle. New sect, they said we're not going to say that because saying Allah has names and attributes, it means He's like His creation. We're not going to say He doesn't have names or attributes because He will be something not exist. We will make something in the middle. What they said? They said, we believe that Allah has names, but He doesn't have any attributes. So they said Allah has name such as As-Sami', Al-Basir, the all hear, or the all see, or Al-Hakim, the wise. But they said Hakimun bila hikmah, Sami'un bila sam', Basirun bila basar. He's all hearing but he doesn't hear. He all seeing but he doesn't see. He's the wise but he has no wisdom. A'udhu billah. Why? They said because if we said He has wisdom, He hears, He sees, He has mercy, He will become like human being. Again, the same problem the Jahmiyyah established. And Ahl Sunnah said this is not right. And I refuted before the Jahmiyyah, and now you know how to refute that, because when we said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala live or exist, and you are live and you are exist, your life and your existence different than His life and His existence. Exactly His hand, His wisdom, His knowledge, His mercy, His anger, His face, exactly the same. Like His life and His existence are different from your face and hands and mercy and anger and life and your existence. طيب. They also said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not above His throne at all. And they refused that so bad and refute this. A'udhu billahi ta'ala. Also they said Allah, when He said that He is Ar-Rahman wa ala al-Arsh istawa. See now, they're not like Al-Jahmiyyah before said, He is not, and that's it. Al-Mu'tazila started to do something else, starting with something new, which is, they said, Istawa, it means istawla. They are the first one who said that Allah, Ar-Rahman, Al-Arsh istawa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is istawa, it means above His throne. He said, no, it doesn't mean above. Istawa, it means He captured, He took back, He got control over His throne. As if the throne was with somebody else and Allah took over it. A'udhu billah. So, this is something was a new, and the scholars start refuting that, and they said whoever believes Allah is not above His throne, not above the world, he's not even Muslim. Also they came with something very disturbing in that time, that they had a lot of talk about refuting the idea of that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be seen in the day of judgment or in Jannah. They said Allah Azza Jal, nobody will see Him. And they start using some evidence from Quran to say that. And that's totally wrong, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that the believer will enjoy seeing Him and His face in Jannah, insha'Allah ta'ala. Also, they came up with the idea of that Al-Quran is not one of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's words. They said Al-Quran something Allah created. So Kalamullah is like Baytullah, like Kaaba. Allah created Kaaba. But we told them, but Al-Kalam is attribute, but Al-Kaaba is a creation. Al-Kaaba something exists outside, but Al-Kalam is not something out by itself. Al-Kalam has to come from somebody who talks. So Al-Kalam has to be contribute to someone who talks. You understand the difference? ما هي بعرض قائم بنفسه، لا ما هو بشيء قائم بنفسه، لابد له من موصوف صفة. We said that the difference. So Al-Kalam, Allah's words, it is His attributes, one of His attributes. That's the way we describe Him, that He talks. And that's why we said Al-Quran cannot be a creation, because Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, I seek refuge by Allah's words. That if Al-Quran is a creation, so the Prophet ﷺ asked to be protected, he asking a creation to protect him, which is the words? No. He asked Allah because Allah's words is not different than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Al-Quran a creation, so that creation, He's the one who said to Musa, I am your Lord. They said Al-Quran is a creation. It's something Allah created. So Al-Quran saying to Musa, I am your Lord. That voice that Musa heard, I am your Lord, if wasn't Allah, who was it? The Mu'tazila said was an angel. There is an angel can say, I am your Lord to Musa. They said, no, it is the rock. So the rock said to Musa, I am your Lord. They said, no, it was in the air. So the air said, I am your Lord. They don't have no way to go. You see, so their madhab, their idea was so wrong. It's been reported that even they try to pay money to some of those who used to recite Quran to change some words in Quran to support their madhab. Such as Allah said, وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. They pay a guy, they said, since you teach Quran, teach your children the verse this way. وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهَ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. What's the difference? The first one, وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. Allah talked to Musa. If you make it, وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهَ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا, it became Musa talked to Allah. You switch the meaning. So that guy said, even if I change this, what you are going to do with فَلَمَّا جَاءَ مُوسَى لِمِيقَاتِنَا وَكَلَّمَهُ رَبُّهُ. He said, this verse you can't change it. You can't play with it. It only means that Allah is the one who talked to Musa. But in any way, any means they can do to change or to spread or to support their ideas. The second principle they have, what they call justice. Al-Adl al-Ilahi. The God or Allah's justice. What God justice means in the Mu'tazila sense. They said justice, it means that Allah Azza wa Jal, He did not created our actions. Allah Azza wa Jal has nothing to do with what we are doing. You remember Al-Jahmiyyah was the 180 degree the opposite. He said Allah, He is the real doer for everything happening in the earth. Every good and bad happen, Allah, He is the one who doing it. Those people said, no, we cannot say Allah doing bad things. So what we should do, we should deny that. We said, no, you create your own actions. Allah has nothing to do with it. It's not by Allah's will. It's not by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create. You created another. You are the creator. So they made other creator with Allah. A'udhu billah. And they claim that we create our own bad deeds. Allah has nothing to do with it. Why? They said because if we said Allah created our deeds, we will become like Jahmiyyah. So how Allah will punish us for things He created in us? That's what they said. They said if Allah created us and our deeds, how He will punish us for something He wanted from us and He allowed it to happen. We tell them, Allah Azza wa Jal, how Ahl Sunnah see this issue. This issue, I don't want you to get out of the class with the wrong information. You think it's the right one. That's the most wrong or dangerous part. So you hear something wrong and you think, oh, this is what I heard. Then after a while I heard Sheikh Waleed saying that, you know what, Allah didn't create our actions. That's the problem. So either you don't participate at all, or you make sure that you are listening carefully. So what we believe that Allah Azza wa Jal created us. Muslims believe that Allah created us. And He created us and created in us something called capability and will. صح? Allah created in us capability and will. خلق فينا قدرة واستطاعة. By our will and with our capability, we do our actions. So our actions, we do it with our own will and our own capability. Not Allah, He doesn't force us to do it. Allah, He doesn't force us to do it. We choose it. But it is belong to Allah, because who created your will and your capability first of all, and your body? Allah. So whatever comes from this capability and this power He created in you, whatever comes from it, it belongs to Allah too. You understand this? No. You understand this? We're saying that Allah created in us will and capability, qudra, istita'a. By our will, by our capability, we choose our actions. We do whatever we do, from good or bad. So, from one side, it is your own deed, because you chose it. You did it with your free will. But it also belonged to Allah, because Allah, the one who created the will and the capability in you, He created your body, your hands, your mind, your eyes, your legs, which is you use it to do whatever you did. You see what I'm saying? So it has been created by Allah from that sense. And it's belonged to Allah from this perspective. But also from the other perspective, it is your own choice, it's your own will. If I bring you a picture and I said, I took this picture. Liar. Why? The camera did. Come on, I'm the one who took it because I'm the one who used it. You know, it makes sense. It is my picture. Now, if somebody kills somebody with a gun, I came and he killed somebody in the gun. Okay, and they took me to the court. The judge said, you killed that. I said, no, I didn't. Who did? The gun. Yeah, but who used the gun? You take the responsibility of your consequence. He said, no. You know who should go after? The person who manufactured the gun. Can he say that? No, still, no. No, in this country even no. It's a common sense. You cannot go sue the person who did, or you can't go to kill the person who manufactured or he sold that weapon to you if he didn't sold an intention for you to use in this crime. You cannot do that. You cannot say that. Why? Because it has nothing to do. It's your own will. It is the same example when it comes to you and your deeds. Allah created in you will capability. You will use it. Based on how you use it, you will be judged. You cannot say, oh Allah, you created in me, you take the responsibility. As the Jahmiyyah said, no. On the other hand, you cannot be like the Mu'tazila, who said, the Mu'tazila said, no. Allah has nothing to do with us. He didn't create anything from us. We create our own deeds. Allah has anything to do with us. We created it. We force our will over Allah's will. A'udhu billah. And that's what they believe, and that's how Ahl Sunnah view the issue of Al-Qadr. طيب. That's why the scholar call Al-Mu'tazila the Manawiyah, the people who worship two gods. It's called Manawiyah. There is a religion, it's called Manawiyah, those who believe in two gods. They said there is two gods who created the world. The first one, the one who created the good. And the other God, he's the one who created the bad. They said, it's a Hindu belief. They said that the good one, he comes in the day. And the bad one who comes in the night. But both are God. And this is one white and one black. That's what they said. Or dark and light. Ilahu al-dhulma wa ilahu al-nur. Ilahu al-khair wa ilahu al-shar. This idea is an old ideology, or old idea exists in the history of the religion, whoever studied the history of religions. The scholar said those Mu'tazila are the Majus of this ummah, are the representative of this belief in this ummah. Why? Because basically they said, the evil deed you do, you creating it. The good deeds you do, Allah creating it. Same concept. And it is totally false. Ahl Sunnah told them, okay, you running away from saying that Allah created our own deeds because you say, what if you do something wrong, it means Allah did. We ask them questions. What about the disease which has happened and hundreds of people die? Who made it? We said when a child died, who made that? When a disease comes like SARS, killed thousands of people, they have no answer but to say Allah created it. If we said to them, if they said that, we tell them, okay, how can Allah created something bad or evil? They said, oh, He did that for wisdom. We said, okay, why you don't say the same thing when it comes to the human being's actions? That He do the wrong.
Please proceed to next CD.